Is 37-year-old Los Angeles Lakers superstar LeBron James annoyed with the current state of youth hoops? James, of course, is himself a product of the AAU travel circuit, but not a 12-month basketball player until his junior year of high school. James, who graduated high school in 2003 before being picked with the top selection in that year's draft, may have been in one of the last few graduating student classes to be allowed to participate in other sports out of CN. During a recent post-game interview, James was asked by Mark Stein, formerly of ESPN and the New York Times, about his thoughts on the current state of elite youth basketball, in which both his sons, LeBron Bronny James Jr. and Bryce James, are partaking. "I think it's too much. I think it's too many tournaments. I think it's too much basketball, too many basketball tournaments being played throughout the full year, and it's not allowing these kids to recover," James said. Then they go off to college or go play wherever they go to play, and if they're fortunate enough to get to the NBA, there's a lot of miles being put in their bodies. "I've noticed it over the last few years, and having kids of my own, I've allowed them to not play in certain tournaments. You have a lot of guys that come into our league and you wonder why some of the injuries are happening so early on in their careers," James noted. Could the amount of games played be part of it? Possibly, but I'm not sure. If anyone knows how to take care of their bodies, it's James, who famously spends an estimated $1.5 million annually to preserve his 37-year body. The travel basketball, beyond being so physically demanding for growing young players, limits students' abilities to develop beyond the game. Sports Illustrated is no longer the national conversation center it once was, but way back in 2002, being on the cover of the then weekly magazine was a huge deal.
Mavericks looking for a final shot of the floor. Oh, they're looking for a double dribble.
Before the internet and social media turned sports discourse into a daily battle, the front of that magazine was a sign of what the biggest story in sports that week was. So when then SI journalist Grant Wall wrote a cover story on LeBron James, just a 17-year-old high school junior at the time, under the somehow not hyperbolic and ultimately prescient caption, "Chosen One," it served as much of the sports world's introduction to a teen who is now on track to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer and arguably greatest ever player. The story, like the best long-form profiles, reads like a window back in time, to a moment before LeBron versus Jordan debates, when Jordan was just trying to help a precocious kid work on his fundamentals and asking about his mom.
Bang! Bang!
A great call by Mike Green.
The whole story is stellar writing, worth a retroactive read in its entirety, and I wish I was bringing it to you just to simply appreciate it on its merits. Unfortunately, as you've likely heard, the reason it is resurfacing again is that Wall, 48, died suddenly yesterday while covering the World Cup match between Argentina and the Netherlands in Qatar. After the Lakers game on Friday night, LeBron James was asked about the trailblazing soccer writer who also wrote one of the most famous basketball stories of all time, and he spoke fondly of the late journalist, transcript via Dave McMenamin of ESPN, link added for context mine. "First of all, my condolences go out to his family. I saw his brother say something as well. Until we get further details into what transpired, I will not comment further on the nature of his death."
Unintentional, of course. I thought Giannis was...
But I'm very fond of Grant and having that cover shoot, me being a teenager and him covering that, it was a pretty cool thing. And he was always pretty cool to be around. He spent a lot of time in my hometown of Akron covering me over the course of time before that cover story came out. And I've always kind of watched from a distance. Even when I moved up in the ranks and became a professional and he kind of went to a different sport and things of that nature over the years, anytime his name would come up I would always think back to me as a teenager and having Grant in our building down at St. V. So, it's a tragic loss. It's unfortunate to lose someone as great as he was, and I wish his family, like I said, the best. And may he rest in paradise. James later shared some more thoughts on Twitter. "This is obviously an incredibly tragic loss, and our thoughts go out to Grant's family and friends at this time."